Hello, my name is Marcos Loya. For exercise 10 of Contemporary World, I will explain the ending of World War II and what geopolitical changes it brought. After the Axis powers started to win territory over many countries in Europe, Germany failed to comply the peace agreements with the Soviet Union. The Nazi army started the Soviet Union's invasion on June 22 of 1941. The conflict started to be in favor of them. However, the Soviet Union launched a counterattack against the German army on December 6 of 1941. This event forced the Nazi army to go back from Moscow, Soviet Union's capital. Another antecedent of the Axis powers' decline was the American entry into the war. Its entrance happened at the same time as the counterattack of the Soviet Union to Germany. The reason why the United States joined to the Allies was the Japanese attack to Pearl Harbor naval base on December 7 of 1941. That attack was done to prevent the American intervention to Japan's conquest of China. With the United States and United Kingdom on the same side, they carried out the Battle of Normandy with the support of Canada. Battle of Normandy was an event in which 150,000 troops of the Allies entered by force to the France occupied by Germany through 5 beaches of Normandy at the northwest of the same country. This invasion was done to free France from the German yoke. D-Day refers to the day when this operation started. In that day alone, more than 10,000 soldiers of the Allies armies died, and between 4,000 to 9,000 German soldiers died. This day happened on June 6 of 1944. At the beginning of the operation, the Allies couldn't unify the 5 beaches to make their way through the north of France, but in the end they did it on June 11 of 1944. Finally, the Allies arrived in Paris on September 16 of 1944. As if this wasn't enough, the Soviet troops began to gain territory from Germany at the east until they reached Poland. The German army tried to protect their territory, but the defeat was inevitable. On April 30 of 1945, Adolf Hitler killed himself, at the time that the Soviet army arrived in Berlin. Finally, Germany gave up to the conflict on May 7 and 8 of 1945. In the Pacific Ocean, United States counterattacked the Japanese islands of Philippines, Iwo Jima, and Okinawa. The event that made Japan to abandon the war was the launch of 2 atomic bombs from the United States on August 6 and 9 of 1945. Those bombs hit the cities of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. It was the first and last time that atomic bombs were used against a population. Japan announced its resignation on September 2 of 1945. After the end of World War II, there was a rupture between the states of the Allies for ideological reasons. The countries of United States, United Kingdom, and France decided to strengthen their relationships with the Soviet Union. The reason for this separation was because the leaders of those countries, including the same of Soviet Union, considered that capitalism and communism were incompatible economic systems. An easy example of this was the division of German lands between those 4 countries. At the west, United States, the UK, and France exerted greater influence, while on Germany's east, there was a bigger influence from the Soviet Union.
The definition of capitalism is the individual properties of the means of production, in which the individual dedicates his time or what he likes and generally is the financially reward for this effort. The perception of communism is what is never applied, and socialism was used instead. Socialism is the communal properties of the means of production. In the modern government system, there are mixes of both systems. An example is China, where some qualities of capitalism and socialism are joined, like the free market of capitalism and the state banks of the other system. In my perception, the many countries that deflated Germany was the Soviet Union also. This country had the greatest human losses. The atomic bombs that were thrown to Japan caused many civil deaths and was intimidating to the rest of country, but mostly for the Soviet Union. In the Bretton Woods system of 1944, the Soviet Union refused to sign the Naguira atomic bomb of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. The nation was disappointed. Thus, agreement benefited and allowed the capitalist system of United States, relegating the Soviet Union and that aspect.
My opinion of the World War II end is that the worst thing that a nation can do is the self-enrichment at the expense of others. In the case of Germany, it was at the expense of other European nations. Also, the ending of this conflict marked a turning point for international relationships and the potential to develop weapons of mass destruction. Although that war, like many other wars, started to avoid the takeover of small and weaker states by a few ones, this just caused death and the creation of technology that can murder more people than we could imagine. I consider that one of the most useful things to prevent war is the education of high quality for young people, in which they could learn ways to reach agreements between them. Also, the international cooperation to cover the basic needs of the less fortunate population is important for our society's progress.